Hi, I'm Daniel Juarez, and today I'd like to give you a little demonstration on crosshatching. I took the liberty of printing out a small little geometric shape, a simple sphere. So, if you're like me, I'm going to sketch out a very light sketch of our drawing, and I'm going to keep it really light, not apply a lot of pressure so I could erase later. Then I'm going to very lightly just go across from side to side to give me a little foundation, a little base, if you will, to get started. Now keep in mind where your light source is. And since I already have my little sketch, I know that the light is coming from the upper left-hand corner. So I'm going to want to keep this little area here where the light is hitting completely white. Because I'm going to use the white of the page as the light. Now as I'm doing this, you want to keep in mind two things. The amount of pressure you apply to the pen is very important, because it's going to determine the thickness, or if you will, the line weight of the pen strokes. That's going to be important because that's going to be a tool to give you what's known as the illusion of grayscale or shading. The other thing you want to keep in mind is the spacing in between your pen strokes. That's also going to be important because you'll use that as a way to give the illusion of grayscale as well. So as you can see, I'm trying to give myself an ample amount of space in between, because then I'm going to go back in and fill those spaces. And at this stage, you don't worry too much about being precise, because I'm going to go in and fill them in later. So there I have a pretty good base, and now I'm going to start from the bottom up. Now as you can see from the little thumbnail I've printed out, the outer edges of the little ball go from dark to light. So I already know that I want to fill it out from the bottom up and from the outer edges inward. Now if you'll notice, I'm going from side to side, sort of a horizontal motion. That's known as hatching. In a moment, I'll start to add some more diagonal lines, maybe side to side. That process is known as crosshatching. But for now, I want to start a little light. So give myself a little buffer, because as with most mediums, you want to start from light to dark. Because especially with pen and ink, once you start applying the ink, you can't go back. And again, notice how I'm not applying a lot of pressure on my pen strokes. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to put a little bit of lines just around the edges. So to sort of start modeling it. In other words, give it a little bit of shape. So now I have somewhat of a little bit of base or foundation, if you will, to get started. So I think I feel a little comfortable with my little ball. So now I'm going to start cross hatching. So what I like to do is I like my pen strokes to be short and crisp. I do this for two reasons. One, it kind of gives me an idea of where I'm going. And two, it gives me a little bit more control over the drawing. And a little bit of control over the lightness and darkness of the shadows. And one thing to keep in mind is you want to continuously wipe your tip of your pen to prevent blotching. I've learned that the hard way. And be very careful not to get your hand over your drawing. Because as you continuously apply more and more ink, it tends to get very wet and it won't dry very fast. So you want to avoid smudging. So I'm just going to continue to apply these short, crisp hatching marks throughout. And one of the things I enjoy so much about this particular technique is you can't really go wrong. It's kind of hard to mess up because the strokes are so light that they sort of get lost in their own detail. So even if you think you may have put too many or not enough, you'll find that you could always cover them up or maybe go back in and put some more later. That's why it's important to start light and then go darker. And again, with hatching, the strokes can go in either direction. They can go diagonal, side to side, or up and down. And as you can see, the form is starting to take on a more three-dimensional shape. Now I really want to give this ball some more depth. So there's two things I could do. I'm going to space my lines apart, as I said earlier. So if you can notice from the angle of the camera, what I'm doing is my lines are actually, I'm starting from the bottom and they're getting further apart as I go up. That's one technique. Because I know the darker end of the ball gets lighter as it goes up. And then now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start applying more pressure onto my pin to give the weight of the line more thickness, bigger line weight, if you will. And that will give the ball more contrast, thus giving it more modeling or more 3D effect, if you will. So again, always keep in mind where your light source is. So if it's coming from the upper left-hand corner, then we really want this image to be darkest at the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm going to really start applying more pressure on the line weight on the bottom. And again, my lines are actually getting spaced further apart as I move towards the upper left-hand corner of the ball. So as you can see, the more and more I work it, the more of a three-dimensional form the ball starts to take on. I can either continue to move on, or I can make it more subtle, depending on how much time and effort I want to continue to work on my sphere. So, I hope this demonstration helped, and good luck on your cross-hatching project. Thank you.